Welcome to Behind the Hard Hat. Real conversations with people who wear the hard hats and their spouses supporting them in the gear, on the rigs and equipment, and in the field. We're stepping onto site into real stories, struggles, and successes of blue-collar life. You're in the right place. Let's get to it. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome Meghan McCracken to the podcast. Meghan has worked in construction and oil and gas since 2013. And while earning her bachelor's degree in psychology, after spending 2 years as a career advisor with Women Building Futures, helping hundreds of women explore careers in the skilled trades, she found herself actually taking her own advice after being laid off. Today, she's back in pipeline construction as a lead hand, recently completed the Women Building Futures Heavy Equipment Technician Pre-Apprenticeship Program, and is pursuing a Heavy Equipment Technician Apprenticeship while documenting her own journey of personal and professional growth. Outside of work, she's passionate about fitness, golf, public speaking, and showing others that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. So I'd like to welcome Meghan McCracken. Thank you so much for being here today, Meghan.
Hey, thank you. Thanks also, Meghan.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for having
me. No problem at all.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time today. So let's get started. Meghan, tell us a little bit about how did you get started in the trades?
Yeah, so I was born into the trades like many tradespeople I've met and spoken to, which is through my dad. And so a lot of us, for one reason or another, maybe we come in because a family member we know, or, we have a connection to the industry. But yeah, so it was me working alongside my dad. I was newly fresh out of high school, 18 years old, just had recently graduated. And then a couple short months later, I was thrown into the pipeline world and started as a laborer and building pipelines. And in up north, oftentimes remote areas in northern Alberta. So I was doing that. And then alongside that, I decided I wanted to go back to school. And so I was kind of doing both, where I would work towards my psychology degree during the regular part of the year. And then during my summers, I was still working in construction, still working in pipeline. Back in 2013, 18 years old and doing my thing.
That's amazing. Yeah. So first of all, bless all the fathers, because I am super close with my father as well. And I'm always getting into trouble with him, shooting or, hiking, camping, all the fun things that fathers bring to the table. So that's really amazing. That's a really good start into your career. So what do you think drew you in? Like, what do you think you were really aspiring for when you were that young?
I think at the time it was more so just I've worked with youth before in the past a little bit as well. A lot of the times I speak to youth between the ages, of 10 to 14, 15, 18 onwards. And a lot of them have like this deep internal fear that they don't know what to do yet, because everybody their whole life is asking, what are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to be when you grow up? And I was also faced with that same question of absolutely just not knowing what at all I was going to do. I think I maybe at the time wanted to be an actress. That was kind of a little bit, an idea of mine, a bit of a passion. But then when I got there, it was more so out of, it was at the time, it was out of convenience of just, hey, my dad has this job opportunity. He knows that there's a laboring position available at the role that he was at. And me being his daughter who, likes to work in the dirt outside was just sort of, hey, why don't you come out and work with me for a little bit, make a little bit of money, maybe before you go into school, and see if this is something you enjoy or something you like. When I was out there, I think what stood out to me pretty initially, we're working 12-hour days, grueling weather conditions, in the heat, in the snow, in the rain. We're out there lifting heavy things all the time. It's not an easy, construction in general. I can mostly speak on just behalf of civil and pipeline, but it's not easy conditions to work in by any means. But I think what kind of drew me in mostly was just this idea of growth and learning how to do things primarily with my hands and getting good at learning the pattern and getting better at the pattern that I kind of saw before myself. And there was a confidence, I think, that was slowly building, at least when I first started, of, oh, okay, I can do this. And then, okay, now what else can I do? Right? Like, oh, let me try that. Let me try that. And then that scaffolded later into my career into equipment operation and becoming a lead hand and, you know, doing a bunch of other type of crews. And yeah, it was, I think I fell in love with the idea of growth, continuous growth, and also working out in beautiful weather, like working out inside of the forest, you know, is what I did for the bulk of my career. And there's something kind of, yeah, you're not really going to see that in an office job, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's actually really interesting because there's this Japanese word, it's kaizen, and it means continual
Mm-hmm.
improvement. And so that was one
Oh,
of
wow.
my values as well that was really integrated at a young age, was like always continuing to improve yourself. But what
Yeah.
I realized, like as I look back on my career from an older age, I also had a value around experience,
Mm-hmm.
lived experience and adventure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, like to
Mm-hmm.
me, they're a little bit different, but lived experience, I think, really, because coming from downtown where I was working in an office setting, whiteboard drawings were
Yeah.
never enough for me. That
Right.
continual improvement, like, and that lived experience drew me to the field where I wanted boots on the ground. I wanted to touch it,
Mm-hmm.
smell it, feel it, right? I
Yeah.
wanted that full lived experience. And like you said, it
Mm-hmm.
can be very grueling,
Yeah.
long days, tough shifts, whatever that looks like, time away from your family. But I was living the value, which really
Yeah.
continued to push me forward personally. So, and so
Yeah.
how did your career develop from there? Like, where did you advance? How did you advance?
Yeah. So I think initially I was working as a laborer for some time, for the first several years, and you know that in of itself is uh, constantly learning. Like there's no day that looks the exact same. Or maybe if you learn something from a buddy at work is teaching you how to do something, a couple weeks later, a couple months later, somebody tells you the exact same thing but differently, and you realize, oh, that's slightly better, right? And so there's never 2 days that are kind of exactly the same, like same kind of process, same work that you're completing, but everybody does things differently. Multiple ways to skin a cat, and you kind of all just learn and work together as a team. I think my progression started after I completed university. I graduated university in 2021 because I think at that time, while I was kind of going in and out of industry to complete years of schooling, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to pursue directly, whether that was going to continue working in construction. And I think at the time I saw it as a backup, as a, oh, I can always fall back on these sets of skills if ever I want to, make some money or go and do that. I don't think I had the mindset of viewing it as a long-term career path for myself. I think a lot of youth, again, are kind of inundated with this idea that if you're not completing university or higher level education, that there's some sort of an internal deficit. And maybe I was kind of struggling with that of, oh, I really like working outside. I really like working with these types of people. I like working in the industry and learning new things with my hands, very tactile. But in order to be successful, I had this mindset of I've got to get a degree, and then from there I've got to get another degree, and then from there, the story continues. And so I kind of directed my attention more so to the skill set I had regarding my university degree. So I went and worked in the nonprofit sector for some time. And I think that was more my mindset of where I wanted to go at the time. And it wasn't until after I graduated and worked in that sector for some years that I realized, oh, I actually just really love working with my hands. And I love being outside. I love working with my hands. And so the progression happened when I found the passion for it, not before. And I think if you were to look at my work ethic and who I was at the time, obviously everybody changes, from I'm 31 now. And so I was 18 when I started. If you were to look at a snapshot of me at 22-year-old Meghan working on the pipeline as a laborer compared to 31-year-old Meghan, very, very different ways of being, same industry, same set of work, but I now discovered the passion that I have for the type of work that I do. And that, of course, is now extending into me becoming a heavy duty mechanic or a heavy equipment technician in the coming year or so. So that's, yeah, progression. And my career in and of itself is sort of like this. Like, it's like I tried so many things to see what sparked that joy and that passion of wanting to continue within something. And I wish more youth had the opportunity to be so not so down on themselves, to show that, hey, you can try multiple jobs and see which one works best for you in the lifestyle and the life that you want to build for who you are as a person.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. Like you said, to explore different areas and to really like it's learning who you are, right?
Yeah.
And understanding yourself further. And so you have to try and explore a few different things to really understand like where your values lie and what it is that you want to do, what you enjoy, what sparks interest for you.
Yeah,
So, and
absolutely.
you went into your heavy equipment technician training.
Mhm.
What was
Yeah.
that like for you?
Yeah. It was it's such an interesting experience because my first introduction with Women Building Futures was working there as a career advisor for a number of years and helping women get into industry and giving them a ability and a space for them to learn practical skills so that they can go into the industry that I had already myself been accustomed to some degree. And so going into it now as a student was a crazy experience of learning. I sort of for a number of years I had been going to schools and talking to youth, having career booths where I would talk to a number of women and people that were wanting to go into the trades. And I would, I'd have a whole thing about, this could be a great opportunity as an additional career path, particularly if you are a young person wanting to enter it for the first time. That might also be a viable option other than just going straight into the university or college pathway. And so after I got laid off from Women Building Futures because my role was absolved, which it was okay because I knew that I was going to take my own advice. I was going to go into the industry. The unfortunate thing about pipeline is that it and the oil and gas industry in that way is that you don't actually have a very specific ticket. So I'm not a ticketed trade as a skilled laborer, as a laborer in general. There's certifications you can get for a number of safety tickets, and that's something that is required prior to work in the field. But it's not getting your blue book and getting signed off hours by an employer or a sponsor in the same way that getting a specific ticketed trade is. And so I really, for myself, wanted to transition my career now into a place where now I can have, hey, this is the book that I have these specific hours in, wanting to progress my career in a very structured, exact sort of way. And oftentimes there are challenges when it comes to progression in a career where you don't know the exact way that growth is going to take place. And so in pipeline, in that industry, you don't have necessarily a chartered exact way of, hey, you're skilled labor for this amount of time, then you go into heavy equipment operator, then you go into being a foreman, then you go into, it's more so your work speaks for itself. Your reputation allows you to sort of become that version of yourself that does good work. And then you get hired for those roles after you have enough training, but it's difficult to get the training before you have the training. And so, it's ultimately one of those things where I wanted to structure and progress into a career that has a bit more of that structure going forward for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I was young too, I sort of floundered around not knowing what I was going to do. And then when I got into the drilling industry, I was like, oh, this is really
Yeah.
interesting, and it was like suddenly like this drive for education and
Mm-hmm.
understanding. And the traditional route to becoming a well site supervisor of a drilling rig would be to be the roughneck, work up to the driller, the rig manager, maybe pop over to becoming a directional driller and then stepping into a consultant role. And that wasn't my
Right.
experience at all. Like, it was a very different route for
Yeah.
me, because I came out of downtown into like a clerking role where I was supporting well site supervisors and coordinators.
Mhm.
And then I stepped into like a junior well site supervisor role where I was taking on more and more and more tasks that the well site supervisors didn't have time for, or like they had other priorities to deal with, and then you slowly develop your competencies from
Right.
there, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the progress of your career is not always linear, right?
No.
So yeah,
Hmm.
or
Absolutely.
the roots are not always traditional, I
No.
suppose, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always
Absolutely.
think too, like as you're progressing, and I know that I think you feel the same about this, is that it can
Hmm.
be like quite humbling, when you're taking on that new role, and intimidating or uncomfortable at certain points in your career, right? When you start to grow and expand. So,
Absolutely. Starting from the bottom again is very humbling. and it's sort of it's a gift. It absolutely is a gift to be well progressed in your career in one sort of sense, and then to sort of take the time to press the restart button. And yeah, of course, you're going to take all of the knowledge and skill set that you've accumulated over the years from everything that you've done. Being a human being, we're growing every day, like literally, right? And so, and if you're somebody that is putting yourself into new experiences fairly routinely and doing roles, you're going to take all of those transferable skills from all of those roles that you've done and bring that to what it is that you're doing now. And so it is incredibly humbling, because it's sort of, you take off the hat of competence and you go into a space where you don't have that competence anymore.
conscious,
And
conscious
right.
incompetence. Yes.
Yes, you have incompetence. And the only way to grow it is by doing, is just by getting in there and doing the thing, and starting from the bottom, proving, I actually, the proving yourself framework, I've actually started using less and less in my brain. Sorry, just a little tangential sidebar here. um Instead of proving myself, I like to view it as just going in and doing good work, instead of already assuming that um people might not like you, or you have to do extra work in order to be well received. I started to view it in the framework of, if I just show up and do my absolute best job every single day, that in and of itself is proof that I belong here. And I already know that about myself. So yeah, viewing it through the lens of, if I just show up and do a good job, I don't need to feel like I need to put the pressure on myself to prove myself. And especially when you're learning something new for the first time, that expectation, I think, could be a little damaging, that you need to know this information already. Um, yeah, and just taking the time to learn and get better. But anyways, I just wanted to share that as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, you show up every day and
Yeah.
you live by your ethics and your values, knowing that
Yes.
you value your work, you value your performance. This is your integrity, right? You're showing up
Hmm.
as strong as possible, and you take the courage every single day to put your best foot forward, right? And
Yeah.
some days you might not win. Sometimes you might
No.
make bad choices or like
Yeah.
learn something.
Yeah.
But it's having the courage to continue forward and to make conscious decisions every single day.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just as you said, like, it's interesting, because I think a lot of companies will talk about value alignment, wanting to ensure that their employees have the same values as they do, and that's great. But I also think that it's important that you yourself are bringing the values that you have to the work site that you're going to, and so you can bring your own culture, as to who you are as a person, and you show up and you can set the bar of, what is good and what is fantastic, and just showing and proving that to yourself every single day of, like, hey, I'm going to abide by the values that I have, and taking the time to know what those are. I think, unfortunately, often is the case that people can't people don't have necessarily the uh, maybe they just haven't taken the time to acknowledge what their own values are, and write down the
Yeah.
list of like, hey, I value growth, I value being kind, I value showing up with humor, I value having an openness to learning and to trying my best, right? and
Yeah.
and just being honest with yourself. Maybe write them down just as a
Well,
tip.
yeah. Well, I'd like to make this
Yeah,
distinction. So I'm actually glad that you
yeah,
brought up this point. There's a difference
yeah,
between morals and
yeah.
values, right? Or
Hmm.
morals, ethics, and values. And the
Yeah.
easiest way to figure out your values is to look at, what do you spend your money on? What do
Hmm.
you spend your time on? What's in your surroundings?
Yeah.
Like for me, I spent a ton of money on dirt biking.
Yeah. Which is
I
awesome.
love being outdoors and I love adventure and I love being with
Yeah.
a tight community. So when I look
Hmm.
at my values, like that's all pretty evident right there. Again, that lived
Yeah.
experience. Like I can feel the wind in my face, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when we look at our values, and well, I don't want to disregard corporate values.
Yeah.
There's a way to maybe look for alignment there, right?
Yeah.
And understanding yourself to understand how you can walk the corporate values as well, right? But like really coming
Right.
into what your personal values are every single day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it makes a happier person, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Yeah. When you were reinventing yourself, what did you
Yeah.
like? What did you learn? What were your learnings in this process that you'd like to
Yeah.
share?
I I believe I've reinvented myself like 10 times. and, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything that that takes away. I think it adds. I think it's been additive to my life. It's made my life more beautiful. It's given me empathy. It's given me peace to know myself at like this really deep level. And through reinvention, you're able to understand what your values are. And my values, I think, have changed significantly as I've gotten older, as I've changed my life, as I've gone to new experiences. Trying new things has allowed me to realize, oh, I actually love this, and this is something that I now do value. And so for me, I've physically transformed. I have mentally transformed. I have emotionally transformed in many areas of my life. I've lost close to 90 pounds through diet and exercise,
Wow.
and yeah, and that took me about just a little over 2 years, and I'm still on a continuous journey of trying to make my mind and body as comfortable I can feel inside of this lived experience right now, and doing my best to allow myself to live in a body that feels comfortable but also feels strong and feels capable so that I can show up inside of this industry and do my absolute best.
Meg, I
And
want
a
to
lot of that
pause
for
you right
me.
there for a minute.
Thank
Sorry
you.
to interrupt, but I just want to
Thank you.
commend you. Like, that is
Thank you.
incredible.
Thank you.
I just want to
Yeah.
commend your dedication and
Thanks.
your commitment to your body and to
Yeah.
your well being. Like, that's a huge
Yeah.
transformation.
Thank you for saying that. And it it's one of those things. I think it what you just said, it was a dedication to my body. It was a dedication to my body, to myself. So many years, and I'm sure this is a story for a lot of people, that they have been wanting to lose weight for an extended period of time. And I think what ends up happening is you have a goal set in mind, and then you don't accomplish the goal, and then it sort of reinforces this idea that you can't trust yourself. You don't feel like you can trust the goal that you set out to do. You sort of throw it away, and that could be because of a life thing that's happening, emotional eating, all of these things. Won't go into, that's a whole separate conversation, of course. But you know we do that enough times, and then we stop trusting the self. We stop trusting, hey, when Megan, either one of us, says something, are we able to follow through? And for me, it was the biggest goal for a long time. And then when I was able to accomplish it, it was a gift to myself, and to show myself, hey, Megan, I've got your back now. I love you, girl. I'm going to take care of you. And here we are having completed it. And then I look at life now, and through this reinvention, I'm able to look at life and say, okay, what's next? What else can I do? Because clearly I'm a superhero.
I can do anything. Yeah.
I can do it all. So
I always go to Wonder Woman, like, yes, I can do this. I'm Wonder Woman.
Yes.
But yeah, it takes these really deep, dark moments in life
Yeah.
to really sometimes bring this all into alignment, and this commitment to ourselves, or this dedication, whatever it might be, to really. Unfortunately, I think it comes from a dark place sometimes. Like, you have to be, for example, we talked about humbled by losing a job, or hit this rock bottom where you realize that your words and your actions aren't aligning, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, a true dedication to what it is you want, so you can trust yourself again. That's huge. And like, what, little steps every single day, right? Like, progress beats perfection.
Yeah. Ordinary, every lived daily experience, tiny little things of every minute decision of, like, for me in the context of weight loss, like, hey, if I eat this sugar-free thing versus this thing that's packed full of sugar, like, that has more calories. And so maybe I should just go for the sugar-free thing. It's the small decisions. It's the tiny little decisions every single day that accumulate. And then you don't even know who you are in 6 months' time.
Totally.
Because you just created that continuous dedication. And if that looks in the workplace, that could look like, I'm going to do my best to try to learn one new thing every single day. Well, by 6 months, that's 180 new things. That's a lot of new things.
Yeah.
And it's a promise to yourself that allows you to continue forward. And again, that trust, that's the biggest thing I ever got from weight loss. Wasn't weight loss. It was the self-trust and the self-confidence I now have, because I know that now what I say, I do.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift.
Yeah.
What an absolute gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, your word is your integrity. So when I say that I'm going to meet you at 2:00 for coffee, I'm going to be there at 2:00. If I'm 5 minutes late, I'm not in my integrity. I'm not following through with my commitment, right?
Yeah.
It's funny though. I was thinking, when you were talking about weight loss, I was also thinking about, there was a time in the workplace when we were really struggling to get the crews to just friggin' wear their gloves.
Yeah.
And it became a habit, as for us as well site supervisors. As soon as we stepped out of the shack, we were putting on our gloves. No matter where we're at, on lease, on location, we're wearing gloves, right? And that just becomes a habit, to put your gloves on, leave your gloves on, right?
Yeah.
And to work safe. And it's just like a really marginal choice, but after repetition, it just is naturally there, right? And getting our crews to do that same thing as well for their own well-being. So, yeah, just those, like, tiny little steps can make such an impact. And it really doesn't matter if it's your work performance, your health, your relationship. All these things compound.
Absolutely. And there's a book I was recently interested in. Am I able to share a book title?
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's like
it's
massive.
great.
Everybody loves this book, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking a lot about that, working with and alongside our biology and our evolution as human beings. And we don't typically like change. We don't typically like doing the more thing that creates more effort for us. We want the least amount of effort, the most pleasure, the most non change of the plan as best as we can. And then it talks a lot about the habit stacking and habit formation, and how we can sort of co-opt ourselves based off on our environment. And so it's like, for you, walking outside, put your glove on, right? It's like, it's a trigger in the brain where it's almost like, you go to bed, you brush your teeth. It's something that's so autonomic that we're not even considering. It's not like we have to amp ourselves up to brush our teeth in the same way that maybe we do to go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
that would be terrible. For dentists would love it.
Yeah.
That would be great. But it's one of those things of being able to understand our own lived experience and how we can fit these ordinary daily tasks, and particularly like in the context of safety in the workplace, that definitely super helps. It's like as soon as you exit the truck, put your hard hat, put your glasses on, make sure that all of these things are being done already. Like do a mental checklist of, do I have everything? Yes, no, okay, then we can continue. And that can definitely most certainly change you for the better as a worker or as just a human being.
Yeah, and I think that leads into like a conversation around confidence. So, when we're doing these daily actions, we're building confidence in all of the tasks, right? Like, you may not have confidence in the gym in day one, but after you've been going for a year, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable, right? So we're developing our competencies and our confidence internally.
Absolutely. And going to the gym, having that exposure, that mere exposure of you're in the gym day one, the 20th time, because you've had that exposure of having relatively positive experience up to the 20th time, your body's probably going to feel a lot more calm and safe if at first you were really stressed and uncomfortable on day one. Just time and exposure to that stimulus, which is gym, can allow you to sink in and feel safer. Your body will feel safer before even maybe your conscious mind will. And yeah, it's going to the gym has single-handedly been the thing that has completely shifted my framework of mental health. That's interesting. Not physical health. Yeah, okay, maybe I've gotten stronger, for sure I have. And I'm really, really excited and happy about that. But my mental health is why I continue going to the gym. And I go about, 3 to 5 times a week, and, hour long roughly every time. And if I don't go for too long, like let's say 3 days pass and, I was really busy or something like this, my brain, I have so much anxiety that I can't stand it. And so it's my body. I don't mean to like, to speak poorly onto myself, but I kind of feel like I'm a hamster and I need my wheel. I just need to get the energy out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's funny because we really do need to get the hormones correct in our bodies and in our brains. And I don't mean just like estrogen or testosterone. Like we need to actively get into our bodies, feel our bodies, move, and get the hormones proper. And this is really essential. So when you're having a dark time, it sounds silly, but the best thing that you could do if you're feeling a sense of depression or if you're feeling just like not wanting to engage the day, jump out of bed and start jumping up and down like you're excited, like this is going to be the best day. This is going to be the best day. Because when you jump up and down and you're doing that, you're changing the hormones in your brain. And then from there, if you can make it to the gym, holy smokes. Definitely. that would be a huge shift, right? Or another thing, dancing to music. Moving your body is so critical for mental health, right? Like just to shift the hormones in your brain. So
absolutely. And now it's such a habit of mine going to the gym that it is almost like brushing my teeth. It's so habitual that it's like it's so a part of my routine that I don't have to force myself to go into it anymore. Like that sort of creation of, oh, I got to get the motivation to go or whatnot. Maybe on the off days or if I'd just been sick or like, we all have our days and whatnot. But over the course of the last 2 years, I just go. Now it's so embedded, which I never thought before entering that gym that I was ever going to be that way. I had an idea of what gym goers were, and I never thought of myself as a person that goes to the gym. But once I made the connection in the mind-body connection of, hey, I am actually a very fit person. Even when I was 90 pounds heavier, I was like, I'm a fit person, and fit people go to the gym. Done. Like it was like I changed the mental framework of who I was and my identity and what I chose to identify with. And choosing that identity of I'm a fit person, I'm a healthy person, I'm a person that cares about my health, I'm a person that cares about what I eat. That changed my habit because then it no longer was, oh, I'm lazy or I don't like the way I look or I don't like what I'm doing. It was now it's okay. Now I have a new identity that I can replace that with. And I'm holding myself accountable to the identity and the way that I view myself.
Mm-hmm.
That really helped.
I actually have two things I want to say to that I think are good ads. Hopefully I remember both. So January 1st, I wanted to start taking my health, physical and mental health, more seriously, but I also wanted my parents to take their health more seriously. And so, knowing my mother, who is ultra competitive, I said to her, we're going to start a challenge. It's a challenge between us. And I challenge you to work out for 15 minutes a day. But you have to do this habit every single day. It's just 15 minutes. It's not a long commitment. It's a very easy thing to attain, right? But you have to do it every single day, right? And then from there, we started upping the game. So the habit was already there. And then like increasing the time increments or what we're doing, to get a more physical workout once the habit was in place. And that's been huge for us, which I really love. See, I knew I was going to forget. The other thing I wanted to comment on, I know, was your brain literally can't tell the difference between physical reality and what you vividly imagine. And so what I often do with my clients is get them to go into a creation meditation with their eyes closed and imagine vividly, what does your body feel like when you're working out, when you're at your ideal weight? Just as an example, right? Like this thing that I am aspiring to, whatever that goal is. When you go into a meditative state and you visualize it and you have this experience in your brain, and then when you add in the feelings, you add in that excitement and that I feel great, like I feel like I'm at my best right now, that actually your brain can't tell a difference. So from there, it's like very easy to make the transformation in your life. You've already lived it in your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's showing you what's possible and what you're capable of before you even go into that space yourself. And there's an amount of disbelief, I think, prior to setting a goal, right? Where you're not sure if it's actually going to go through. Like there's all the wanting in the world of, I really want this and I want to make this happen. But sometimes there's the pre-programming of our life that has shown us or told us that this isn't going to be for you, or that this isn't really actually going to happen. You're a fool for even wanting this in the first place. A lot of my life now, after having lost weight, has been a reintegration of what can I actually dream, and dream big. I don't want to just have a dream. I want to dream big. Like when I'm on site now, I think that came a lot towards my progression in the field in general, where I wasn't just viewing myself as a laborer for the rest of the time I was going to be at the workplace. I was thinking, I want to be in that excavator. I want to be in that rock truck. I want to be in that dozer. I want somebody to trust me enough to put me behind the machine, inside of the cab, and I want to run that thing because that's where I see myself. And you can have that self-doubt. That self-doubt will always creep in, of course. But if you can push through that self-doubt and say, why not me? Why not me in compared to somebody else that's out here? I work hard. I do my best. I show up every day. I try to ask to get that experience as much as possible. There was probably like 2 years, I would say, where every day I was working and I would, on lunch breaks, ask the hoe operator, the excavator operator, I'd be like, hey, can I run that thing for the 30 minutes? I didn't take lunch for like almost 2 years. I wasn't eating lunch. I was just trying to run the machines. Until eventually someone was like, put her in a machine. She clearly wants this. Let her do this.
Give this to this girl. Yeah.
She wants to do it. Let her do it. And we can now have confidence she's not going to break anything because we watched her. And so sometimes it looks like that. Sometimes career progression looks, slow and daunting and uphill, and like you're at the bottom of a mountain looking upwards, but you just keep climbing every day. And you just hope that one day you look back and you're like, wow, I actually climbed a lot. That's cool.
Yeah.
And because of every day, a small step towards your goal.
Yeah. It's funny, as you were talking there, I was having flashbacks of the fact that I've never driven a hoe before. But maybe the one time that I did drive a hoe was very fun.
Yeah.
But I've never driven a hoe before, I swear.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I never knew I had this lofty goal of being a well site supervisor. Maybe.
Yeah.
I never knew if it would be possible. I didn't.
Yeah.
There was no other, to be honest, females, because I didn't come the traditional route. So let's just say there's no other people who came the same route as I did that I knew that could attain this or achieve this in their career. So I didn't actually know if it was possible, but I just kept learning and taking each step, each opportunity that presented itself. And I remember one time I walked off site. I basically was told to sit down, shut up. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work for me. The supervisor was like, I'm not going to teach you anything. Nobody's going to teach you anything. So sit down, shut up. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work for me. But what happened out of that excruciating moment was I actually got a way better opportunity. I worked with a way better team and I got to learn way more. And that was the opportunity that really led into something phenomenal. So I just kept taking the steps, kept taking the opportunities. And even when things didn't seem like they were working out, they actually were working out in my highest and greatest good, which is quite interesting. So
I love that. And I love that you knew you had the value to yourself enough to know when to leave the room of this isn't going to work for me. Sometimes I think in general, as a person inside of this career, as a person in living life in any capacity, we're in the wrong room. And then we self-attribute being in the wrong room as what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me right now? Because I am not fitting in, or I don't like these people, or I don't feel good inside of the space, or I'm not growing because I feel stifled because the environment or the culture or XYZ thing. And instead of just seeing that, oh, clearly this is the wrong room for me, we might just say, oh, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? I should be better like this. Maybe I could show up like this and be a little bit better. And I'm sure this even goes back to high school, right? Except you can't leave that room. We all have to go through those rooms.
Yeah.
But now as an adult, as a person with, agency and the power to change, you take a look at that room and you're like, it's not for me. It's not for me. There's a better space here that will allow me to grow, will allow me to be my greatest good, will allow me to, do the XYZ thing that I'm looking towards, and not viewing it as a detriment to the self, but instead just saying, and you don't even have to go inside of that room and be like, that person sucks, that person sucks. You don't even have to do that. You could just sort of say, it's just not the right place for me. And it's fine. There's no attachment to it.
Yeah. No, I don't think we're responsible for all of our choices. I'm responsible for every single choice that I've made, good and bad. And so when I look at it from that view, and I look at I really want to learn and grow. I don't know if I'll make it to there or not, but every single day I want to learn and grow. And if education and learning and growing is not your value, then that's cool. That's fine. But this obviously isn't a place for me. I need to go somewhere else so that I can learn and grow, and those moments are hard. They're tough, right? Those are not easy decisions, but I think that's where the courage and really trusting yourself and making the right choice for yourself. And maybe that even is changing careers, right? Maybe I don't want to work in the field anymore, or, maybe I want to go do something more artistic, right? Whatever that looks like, to have the courage and to really know yourself and do what's best for you. So absolutely. What sort of practical advice would you tell people entering trades, or younger people maybe working in trades?
I have a lot.
Okay, yeah, cool. Let's dig into it.
When you first start in particular, I think it's a really good time to set yourself up for the type of person that you want to be when you go into the industry. And I think oftentimes when people first start, the trades isn't for everybody, right? The trades and these working conditions, pipeline, well sites, all of these things, right? These spaces, these they can be grueling. It's construction. There's a sort of culture, there's a sort of expectation onto you as a person. I think often is a case where people might start this career and not realize what excellence looks like, or what somebody that wants to achieve and do well looks like, because they maybe you come from the city and you've never had experience with working even with tools before. When I first started in pipeline, I didn't know what a specific type of wrenches or screwdrivers, or I just had no concept of that. I was from the city. I had grown up in mostly Airdrie, Chestermere, Calgary kind of area, and not knowing what boots on the ground type work looks like. So I had to learn quickly along the way, pretty fast. And if I didn't, I might not have lasted as long as I did. So I have some advice for people that are maybe just starting out. One of the things, this sounds kind of like a less impactful one, but it's learning people's names when you first go into the industry. Making sure that you actually know the people in the crew that are on your crew. You might be their first responder if something bad goes wrong and you're in a remote site, or you got to know people's names. You got to know who they are to some degree, and you're going to be working 12-hour days potentially with these people, like a long time. You're probably going to spend more time with them than their own family will, and that's why maybe the trades in this industry isn't for everybody, because it's a sacrifice of your time and your energy and your resources to go and work inside of these conditions. So making sure that you're saying thank you to the people that do take time to teach you something, I also think is incredibly important, because your gratitude to them as a person for taking their time out of their day to show you something is going to reinforce for them that you're somebody that is willing to learn and is capable of learning more. And they might wish to teach you more because of that alone, but also let it be genuine. Like, genuinely just appreciate their time. Don't do it for any reason other than thank you. Thank you for showing me this thing, right?
So in
people,
in sales,
they want to teach you.
Yeah, so like in sales, or let's just say real estate.
Yeah.
People do business with people they know and like and trust. And the same is true about trades. Your mentor will teach you and treat you better, and you'll go further if they genuinely like you. So yeah, showing appreciation, saying thank you, taking their advice seriously. One of the things that really helped me was writing notes. Keep a tally book. Write it down. Because you're not going to remember, oh, hi, I'm Megan. Oh, hi, Megan. That one's easy because they're the same name.
You and I would, yeah.
But, okay, what's this person saying? I'm going to write it down. Or what's this piece of the drilling rig? Because there's so much slang. What is this piece? When they say go here, what is that? Or what is this tool that I'm using? Right? So write it down, and it makes you look professional. It makes you engaged in the education that they're giving you. And you're taking it seriously. You're a professional.
Yeah. And if you're somebody that's English second language, one thing I would often tell the students is we're all learning a new language when you enter into the trades. Every single person is learning all of these new terminologies. As you said, slang, there's 10 different words for one thing, and you're kind of expected to know what all 10 of those words mean and what they're referring to. So everybody's learning a new language when you're entering this space. So take the pressure off yourself of needing to know exactly everything right away, all at once. Another thing too is, just as you said, writing things down, making sure you're not asking the exact same question 10 times, right? Because you wrote it down and you studied it and you have it implemented in your brain and it's written down on a piece of paper that you can refer back to, you don't have to ask that journey person or the foreman on site the same thing that you just asked 10 minutes ago. And going into that, repeating the instructions back. That happens to me all the time, where somebody will be like, hey, Megan, we want you to go here just to the east of this little landing strip, and then blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what?
They say it way too fast, right? You're like, whoa, hang on.
It's because they're only seeing it from their perspective. They're not maybe seeing it from your perspective of somebody that doesn't know exactly where that is. So repeat it back to them. Say hey, am I getting this right? And usually what will happen is they'll be like, nope. And I'll be like, okay, great. Well, then tell me the right way, because I want to know it first. And then when you finish a task, asking what can I do next? What can I help with next? Versus when, in pipeline, there's always the saying of There's always something to do, right? There's always something to do. For me, sometimes that looked like picking up garbage on the right of way when there was literally nothing else to do exactly in that moment. Okay, let's just go pick up some garbage. Let's go reorganize the truck. What are the types of tasks that I can do in this moment when there's not much else to do exactly in front of me? Just thinking about the tiny little things, because some people will just sit in the truck and just wait it out until the next thing is told to them. Don't be that person. Try to be the person that's proactively looking for the next thing to do. Unless it's your break time, then take that time. But always be thinking, there's all of these jobs, it's pretty much a big pattern. As much as things change from day to day, there still is a tuned in pattern that you can learn as a person to make sure that, oh, I kind of know we're going to be doing this and then we're going to be doing this probably after. So what can I prepare in the middle here? And how can that, allow me to do better in the next part of the phase that we're going into? And so that allows you to be mindful. It's going to get you more jobs in the long run, right? If you're somebody, a lot of these industries, trades is small. Your reputation means everything. And if people are looking at the people that they're working alongside of, they're going to see, wow, Meghan is always showing up and doing a great job. Meghan is always thinking about the next thing to do. Maybe, this is somebody we can see in a growth opportunity in the future. Maybe this is somebody we can see doing better long term. We want this person on our team, Even if somebody doesn't personally like you while you're in the industry, they will respect your work. That has been my experience every single time. Mm-hmm. Where, I might show up to site and they might have an idea of who I am as a person, and they might just, dislike me for whatever reason. You can't control these things. Take that feeling that you can control them off of you, because you can't. Some people aren't even going to like you because they don't like the color of your hair, or whatever it is, right? Like something stupid that is silly, right? They might just not like you, and that's fine. But if they see, oh, wow, every single time Meghan's on our team, she's doing a great job. She's lifting this. She's doing her best to do this. She's doing all the paperwork. She's showing up on the right time, all these things. Well, even if I don't like her personally, I still want her on my team because she's doing the job as best as she can, right? And that applies to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, we don't really take breaks on the drilling rig. The drilling rig runs 24/7. There is no such thing as a lunch break. But I would add into your working proactively is to, depending on the really cold days, the really hot days, take care of yourself in those moments too. Go get some water. Make sure you're hydrated in the heat. Go grab a sandwich if it's -40 outside, and make sure you're fueling your body, right? And so you're being proactive. You're not just kind of sitting there following along or just waiting, right? Taking care of yourself and thinking about what is the next task? What are we doing next? Yeah. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think maybe just the last thing, one of the single-handedly most important tips that I kept with myself through a lot of the things that I did while I was working. Well, there's two. Now that I say it, there's single-handedly. No, there's two. One is, you're a team. Show up as your best team member. And that could look like everybody's offloading their trucks and you see somebody struggling with something, go help them out. People just want to be seen and appreciated and whatnot. But also there's something to be said for just whenever you're on site, you're a big old team, and try to show up as your best teammate that you would wish that you had yourself. And even if, for me, honestly, sometimes that looked like I was the one offloading the trucks for all the people. Sometimes those same people wouldn't help me offload mine. But I still kept showing up. I still kept helping them out because in my mind, we're a team. And that's the culture I want to build and create. And so I'm going to keep showing up that way because that's what I want to do inside of this space. So I sort of bended the culture to my will and to my values because that's how I wanted to show up. And secondly, learn why you're doing something. Not just the how, or not just what it is you're doing. That helped me and has helped me so much of, oh, I see we're digging this pit here. Why? What is this actually for? What is this useful for? How is this going to help the next person? Or what part of the step or part of the process is this advancing? And how can I learn all of this holistically, not just in one kind of segmented part? Because when you learn the why, not only does it help your own knowledge base where you can progress and become, higher growth opportunities for yourself as a worker. But it also allows you to know the next step and give you an awareness of how to show up and get the job done in a more efficient and effective way.
So I think that comes down to really good leadership on site.
Yeah.
Because let's just say you're the swamper or the roughneck or whatever you want to call the grunt worker there, and you want to understand why. You can ask the question, but you still have to have a good leader who's willing to train you, is not intimidated by you wanting to learn, because it's going to go through your whole career, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually you'll be the driller and you'll want to know why, or whatever the position is. But so it comes into like really good leadership too, and like having good leaders. And like you said, I always refer to it as my work family. This is my work family. I actually have spent more time with these people than I have my own family. I'm working 16-hour days for 14 to 90 days at a time. So I'm putting my heart and soul into this, and I want to make it a really good culture. How can I do that? And oftentimes that was, me doing some of the grunt work, showing them that I'm not too good to go do the grunt work. I will walk around location and pick up the garbage on a rig move. I will walk outside and take the wood off the casing. I will be part of all of the operations and even the crappy tasks, right? Like the tasks that some people would think are below them. Just like creating that collaborative culture, that work culture that you want to be part of, right? Supporting each other and helping each other out. And sometimes that even looked like a conversation. Hey, I can see you're a little bit off today. What's going on? Like taking time for people and understanding, and that's the whole point of this conversation, like behind the hard hat, is we are whole people having an experience. Like behind every single person, there is families and financials and cats and dogs and who knows what, right? But like life is happening. So let's treat each other well, and let's understand that we're whole people with whole experiences and different things going on. And when we can have, like, this is the point of the podcast, is when we have a clear mind, when we understand ourselves and our minds are clear and directed, we're safer on site. We're better humans,
Yes.
We can perform better.
Absolutely. No, and it's so true. And that mental health first aid almost, right? It's like checking on your buddy, making sure they're doing okay. Like, we're not always going to have the clearest of minds when we're out there working. And it's important to know when somebody has a shift. And that only happens once you've paid attention for a long enough time, where you could see them at their baseline and then see when something is off, and taking care of each other. We're all out there to do a job, do it safely, and get home at the end of the day. And safety, sometimes can be an eye roll for workers, and can feel sort of like a top down, like from corporate and from people that maybe don't know exactly what's going on, boots on the ground. But ultimately it's there to protect you as a person, so you can go home to your family and to the people you care about. So it's definitely one thing I wanted to say, just based off of what you just said, was leadership is going to change the course of whether or not people feel comfortable to go up to somebody to ask them questions. I completely agree with that. One other thing I would offer as a tip or as a skill for people going into this industry for the first time is take the first 2 months, just watch people. Just pay attention to the people around you. If somebody is going up to somebody and talking poorly about them, well, maybe that's not somebody you're going to go ahead and divulge information about your personal life to, right? There's always people that you can see on site. Maybe you see one, older guy who is operating and is, seems pretty quiet, but pretty nice and stoic and safe and, knows a lot of stuff. Maybe that's your mentor. It could be, mentorship can happen all around us at any time. And taking the first couple of months to just observe how people interact and making sure that you have values alignment with that individual will allow you to be like, hey, that's a safe person. I can definitely go ask them a question. Person over there, maybe not. And that's okay, right? Because that's going to be dependent on you and your relationships that you build when you're in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, this person's a bit of a hothead. I need to be careful, like, when I ask questions to them, maybe they have other priorities or other things going on in their mind for that day, whatever their task is. But like, this person is always usually pretty level-headed and easier to have a conversation and get some training from, or to answer questions from. Yeah. Learning who your allies are is what that seems like to me, and knowing when to ask questions, or like knowing when is the right time to approach someone for a conversation. Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for someone, let's just say someone who makes a mistake? If you make a mistake on site, what would your advice be to that person?
I mean, I've made so many mistakes. Like, it's gonna happen.
Me too.
To
Oh
everybody.
man.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like, I was with my boyfriend recently, and I said a word, and he kind of looked at me and he's like, "That's not the way you use that word." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." Just own it, right? Own the mistake, right? It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen to every single one of us. We're all gonna make mistakes at any given time. I think what makes a good leader, for somebody that's maybe on the path to becoming a leader, is to be able to fail publicly, and to and to know that they're going to make a mistake. And I think it's the people that try to hide it, or try to, oh no, well, that's not what I meant. They're defensive of it, or they're trying to sweep it under the rug and pretend like it never happened. Those are the people that aren't going to grow or learn from the mistake that they just made. If you can just sit there unapologetically, own that you made the mistake, and do your best to do better next time, or even if somebody's watching you do that mistake and they try to, they let you know, hey, you're making a mistake right now, just own it and just say, like, yeah, you're right, and this is what I'm probably going to do different. A lot of those things in my brain, like while I'm on site, I'm like, oh, I don't do that because I made that mistake once 5 years ago in my career, so now I don't do that anymore. And then if I see somebody doing it, I'm like, hey, don't wrap your hand all the way around the tagline, because it could fly off if you're moving pipe, or pipe is unpredictable. Little things like that along the way, right? And I'm not sharing that because I'm trying to be better than that person. Sharing because I care about their safety and their well-being, and I want to make sure their hand is still good, right? Like, but yeah, if you're gonna make, there's gonna be problems all around, especially when you're first starting out. You're gonna make a ton of them right away, really quick. Learn from every single one of them. Write them down if you can too, of like, oh yeah, this is what I messed up, and do your best to not do that again if you can, if you can avoid it.
It's funny because I'm thinking, like, some of my mistakes were so evident that it literally killed me inside. Like, I have a tendency to really, like, internalize them so much and beat myself up about them that, like, I would never need to write that down because I felt it so deeply in every single cell in my body. I definitely don't need to write that down. However, and I sufficiently got screamed at well enough that I will never do that again. But what I was thinking, that this is sometimes too where processes can be so helpful. Like, okay, I made a mistake on X. That didn't work out. Write it down, but like, is there a process that could help so that not only you, but like whoever your cross chef is, whoever your team is, like, is there a new process that you can share with the next person coming in and say, hey, from now on, we're going to do task X like this. And this is why, because it happened on this hitch, right? Or this on today's tower. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's like a greater learning or a process that you can continue optimizing through that mistake. Mm-hmm. Cool. I like that. Is there any other thoughts that you would like to share, or anything you'd like to touch on?
Maybe the final message would just be to anybody going into industry, or just people in general looking to switch their careers over, any person that doesn't like where they're currently at and is wanting to reinvent themselves. Start before you think you're ready, because you're never going to be ready. The readiness comes after you do the thing. The competence and the confidence in yourself comes after you have done it a number of times. And the first time you do something, it's going to be bad. Resign yourself to the idea that you're going to be perfect at it when you first start, because you're not. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. And so, but the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the 10th, the 100th time that you're doing that thing, you might see that you will be better and more comfortable, more confident, and you'll get there. But you have to give yourself the chance to get there. So you can't give up. You just have to keep showing up, keep doing your best. And it's going to take a very long time to get inside of that space where you do feel comfortable and confident enough that you can be, let's say, a leader. But at the same time, if you never start because you always feel like you have to start only when you're ready, it's never going to happen. It might never happen where you feel ready before beginning. It's like when with weight loss, people start on a Monday or they start on day 1 of a month or things like this. Why not arbitrarily start on the 30th of a month? Why not start tomorrow? Why not start this second, right? It's as soon as we kind of keep putting the goalpost further and further away from us, it becomes less tangible or less, it feels like we're less capable of committing to it. So I would just encourage anybody that's wanting to maybe do a career shift or starting inside of this industry that you and I have been a part of, to just begin if you can. And you'll find that you are ready after you've done it.
Yeah, when you were talking, it was bringing me back to when I started doing a lot of work with a loader and a hoe. And we'd be unloading casing trucks. And my colleagues, because the liner we were using was quite delicate, we had to be quite careful when we were doing this work. And we didn't want the forks to like crush the liner, the casing. And it terrified me in the beginning. I remember on day 1 calling, I don't know if he was my boyfriend or my ex-boyfriend, but I remember calling him and being like, I'm terrified. How do I get through this? Like, what do I do? What, tell me how to be safe. Tell me how to do this task, right? Like, how do I do this task best? And asking him for advice to develop confidence and to understand the task, to understand how to do it better, right? Understand the concerns. And then it really didn't take that much time. And I was like, oh, yeah, like the hoe hand or the loader operator, they knew exactly what we were doing. We had a way to load the trucks properly. The trucks knew exactly how to operate on site. I knew exactly. It was like cookie cutter. It was perfect, yeah. Right? Like it really didn't take long to build the confidence in the task. It just took some repetition, right? Mm-hmm. And just like working together, asking questions. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll feel safer once you're able to be exposed to it for sure. And you'll get good at it. Yeah. Doing it enough times. It's like the 10,000 hour rule, Malcolm Gladwell Outliers, talking yeah. about you do anything for enough time and eventually you'll find that you're masterful at it. And it's just getting those hours in is what's going to be the difference between you and past you that wasn't able to feel comfortable or confident or safe in doing the thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I always say in my goal to strive for the 10,000 hours, whether that was like dirt biking or work or any other task in life, find a really good mentor. Yeah. Find a good mentor or a good coach, because that can propel your activity, like your work, your performance, I guess is the word, that can propel your performance forward so quickly. I remember just smashing logs on my dirt bike over and over and over again with a coach, and I swear, because he would mock, like in a very loving way, mock me and show me like, okay, this is actually what your body was doing. This is how you do it better. And he would exaggerate it so that I could, okay, I understand. I'll try and do this, right? Or whatever it looks like. So I always think that's key too, is just finding a really good mentor or coach who's been there yeah. before you.
Yeah. I'm so thankful to my father, who every time I've had those phone calls where, you had with your ex or your partner at the time, where, I'm calling my dad and I'm like, hey dad, I'm digging this, or I'm doing this. Like, what does this mean? Like, or, a little bit of stress. And he just walked me through it, and it's like, you know what you're doing. It's just a new way of doing it, and just stay calm. Remember your training. Remember all the things that you've done before. Sometimes it's a really sweet thing to have a person that's just able to see you for who you are and meet you where you're at. And it's a lovely thing. Also, we should go dirt biking at some point. That would be great.
Yes to all
That would
that.
be fun.
Yes.
I've never done it before, so it'd be cool to learn.
Sure, sure. And
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, that
Mhm.
seems like a good place to wrap up the conversation with, like, bless the fathers again. Like
Yeah.
fathers. Oh man, men are so cool.
Yeah.
I think that they are the reason that I have become the person that I am. And so um, I think that's maybe a good place to leave the conversation for now. So
Yeah. Shout out to the dads.
yeah, Dad.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Meghan, thank you so much for sharing your powerful story today and for all the insights that you've shared. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm so proud of
Thanks.
you in your health journey as well. I hope that you're proud of yourself and everything that you have done there. So thank you for taking the time to be here. Can you let the audience know how they can find and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again so much for having me on here today. My website is www.meganmccracken. Megan is spelled with an H, and .com. So just, yeah, take a look at me on there. I've done a lot of public speaking and some kind of cool events. So if you want to connect and see about having me chat, feel free. And then in terms of social media, I'm on TikTok and Instagram as Megan in Progress, again with an H in my name. So there we are.
Cool. And I will link those for everyone in the comments so that everyone can find you.
Very
Well,
cool.
if you enjoyed this conversation, please give it a like and subscribe to Mindful of so you don't miss the next conversation. And most importantly, please share this with someone who needs to hear it. We're working to support blue collar workers mentally, physically, and emotionally. And your share might make the real difference in someone's life who needs to hear it at this point in time. The more focused and clear our minds are, the safer we are at work. Thank you for being part of Behind the Hard Hat, and we'll see you in the next episode. Make it a safe day.